Macmillan Audio presents Report from the Interior by Paul Auster, read for you by the author.
In the beginning, everything was alive. The smallest objects were endowed with beating hearts, and even the clouds had names. Scissors could walk, telephones and teapots were first cousins, eyes and eyeglasses were brothers. The face of the clock was a human face. Each pea in your bowl had a different personality, and the grill on the front of your parents' car was a grinning mouth with many teeth. Pens were airships. Coins were flying saucers. The branches of trees were arms. Stones could think, and God was everywhere. There was no problem in believing that the man in the moon was an actual man. You could see his face looking down at you from the night sky, and without question it was the face of a man. Little matter that this man had no body. He was still a man as far as you were concerned, and the possibility that there might be a contradiction in all this never once entered your thoughts. At the same time, it seemed perfectly credible that a cow could jump over the moon, and that a dish could run away with a spoon. Your earliest thoughts, remnants of how you lived inside yourself as a small boy. You can remember only some of it. Isolated bits and pieces, brief flashes of recognition that surge up in you unexpectedly at random moments, brought on by the smell of something, or the touch of something, or the way the light falls on something in the here and now of adulthood. At least you think you can remember, you believe you remember, but perhaps you are not remembering at all, or remembering only a later remembrance of what you think you thought in that distant time, which is all but lost to you now. January 3rd, 2012, exactly 1 year to the day after you started composing your last book, your now finished winter journal. It was one thing to write about your body, to catalog the manifold knocks and pleasures experienced by your physical self, but exploring your mind as you remember it from childhood will no doubt be a more difficult task, perhaps an impossible one. Still, you feel compelled to give it a try, not because you find yourself a rare or exceptional object of study, but precisely because you don't, because you think of yourself as anyone, as everyone. The only proof you have that your memories are not entirely deceptive is the fact that you will still occasionally fall into the old ways of thinking. Vestiges have lingered well into your 60s. The animism of early childhood has not been fully purged from your mind. And each summer, as you lie on your back in the grass, you look up at the drifting clouds and watch them turn into faces, into birds and animals, into states and countries and imaginary kingdoms. The grills of cars still make you think of teeth, and the corkscrew is still a dancing ballerina. In spite of the outward evidence, you are still who you were, even if you are no longer the same person. In thinking about where you want to go with this, you have decided not to cross the boundary of 12, for after the age of 12, you were no longer a child. Adolescence was looming. Glimmers of adulthood had already begun to flicker in your brain, and you were transformed into a different kind of being, from the small person whose life was a constant plunge into the new, who every day did something for the first time, even several things or many things, and it is this slow progress from ignorance towards something less than ignorance that concerns you now. Who were you, little man? How did you become a person who could think? And if you could think, where did your thoughts take you? Dig up the old stories, scratch around for whatever you can find, then hold up the shards to the light and have a look at them. Do that. Try to do that. The world was, of course, flat. When someone tried to explain to you that the Earth was a sphere, a planet orbiting the sun with 8 other planets in something called a solar system, you couldn't...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?